But Chris is going to play. He's got a big heart, and he wants to get out there, so you'll see him.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach Al.
Thank you.
Well, he's not wearing that mask right now, but when he came over to say hello to you, he was wearing it. And this is something that players often scuffle with. Sometimes they'll start with it, and then off it goes.
Especially for a guy like Chris Likes, where his vision, being able to find his teammates, and his scoring ability are so important. We'll see how intrusive that mask is, but he won't start this game, but we know he'll have an impact in this one. 27 points for him the first time these two teams got together. He'll be coming in looking to fire.
You know, he's a tough kid because 2 days ago, he was not going to play. He had tweeted out, you know, all the best to my teammates. I'm with you, heart and soul. I'm sorry I won't be on the floor. And then he changed his mind.
Well, he's also very intelligent and understands his brand. I never believed that tweet.
Long outside the three. So he gets the start at the point. He's going to launch a long one off the front of the iron. Sims with the rebound. He gets 7 a game. Watch for Amir Sims to be a huge factor today. Here's the swing for Trapp and a 3, and that's off target. Big battle for the rebound and taken away by the Canes. Injuries and one of the tougher schedules in the country have hurt their season, coming in 7-13 in the ACC.
Yeah, you mentioned that 73 missed games due to injury for the Tigers, but one of those injuries, it was Clyde Trapp, who missed the first 10 games of the season, Obi. He tore his ACL on June 28th. He played December 20th. Not even a full 6 months recovery for Clyde Trapp. So we talk about Chris Likes' toughness. We got to mention Clyde Trapp in that mix as well.
And the first basket of the game, Vasiljevic draining that one. He's attempted about a third of Miami's three-point shots, so he loves that shot.
And Vasiljevic will go down as one of the better three-point shooters in ACC history. Close to the top for Miami, and a bona fide threat from beyond the arc.
Swing here for Dawes. On the spin, gets in close for 2.
Relatively similar to the move that he made to beat Florida State in Littlejohn Coliseum on February 29th. And Alamir Dawes, and there's a lot of talk about Cole Anthony and Joe Girard III, deservedly so. Alamir Dawes does not get the level of credit he is necessary for him. He's had some huge games as a freshman point guard for the Tigers this year.
You said the game-winning basket with 1 second left to upset the #1 seed in this tournament, FSU. Long one on the way, and that'll catch a lot of iron, but fall away by McGusty. Another guy who battled some injury, the transfer from Oklahoma. Ian Keystone, and so many others really banged up for chunks of the season for Miami. Here's Mack from the corner, and nothing but net from three-point land.
And we mentioned Newman's game against Louisville. We mentioned Alamir Dawes against Florida State and Amir Sims against Duke. We didn't mention the game that Tevin Mack had against Syracuse. 32 points and 10 assists. Now, again, this is a guy that was only his second career double-double, but the first had to do with rebounds. Not something you would expect for the big fella, but he played great against the Orange.
Stone got a good look. Trapp all over him. Newman looking inside, up top for Sims, who's third team all ACC, averaging 13 and 7. Here's Mack. He can't drain that. Rebound tipped and controlled by the Canes. By the way, went 14-0 when leading at halftime. We talked to Jim Larinaga along with Allison Williams in the locker room before the game, and he said that's huge for their team, for their mindset, to have that lead at the break.
It is, and when coaches recognize stats like that, that is something different. You're used to, you know, SIDs communicating it to us, but when coaches talk about it early in the game, it's definitely different. Coach Larinaga, though, he pays attention to the details. One of the things he knows is getting off to a great start. Having a halftime lead is big for his team.
Tied at 5. Dawes over the top, but a shove there and a foul. 16:07 to go in the first half. In 2013, Miami won their first ACC tournament title right here in Greensboro. And in 06, the Canes won their first ever ACC tournament game right here. That was also in an 8-9 game against the Clemson Tigers.
And interesting enough, Miami has 9 total ACC tournament wins. 7 of them on this floor. Only 2 wins in different sites. So Jim Larinaga happy to be back in Greensboro, but not happy to see the way Clemson has gotten off shooting the ball from beyond the arc.
Yeah, Clyde Trapp there draining that. He's only 26% from the line. He also had a game-winning basket. That was against Syracuse with 2.5 seconds to play in a victory at the end of January.
This is where Alamir Doss can be special as well. Defensively, he can get after you and pressure the basketball. And this is the calling card for Brad Brownell's Clemson program. They are a defensive unit, and that's where he wants to be able to win games.
Just in time, he got it off, and Stone will knock that one down from deep in the corner.
Well, Keith Stone, more than capable, has experience with the SEC tournament and now getting his chance in the ACC tournament. And speaking of, Tevin Mack is also playing the SEC tournament and the Big 12 tournament to add the ACC tournament to his list right now.
Mack stumbling there, and that's going to be an offensive foul. Likes is about to come into the game along with Miller for the first time.
Well, one of the things both teams have enjoyed is success from beyond the three-point arc early in this game. Tevin Mack finding the corner three ball is good, and then Keith Stone returns the favor for the U.
So he is very left-eye dominant. He said, in fact, the right side of the court is oftentimes blurry. He can't really make out who is who, but he knows who his guys are well enough. He can tell where to put the ball. He did say his shot isn't particularly affected because he can really just lock in straight forward on the rim. But you have to imagine there will be some serious things to overcome from him throughout the day, playing with that mask and impaired vision really now in both eyes.
Allie, I'm amazed he's playing. I really am, especially, you know, his mood after getting elbowed by a teammate like that. And here he is wearing the mask. The question is, how long will he keep that on?
Well, and that is the question. And when Allison mentioned the condition with his cornea, I was actually there for Chris Like's first game at Miami, and he had goggles. And he wore those goggles, and we had a conversation before the game. He was out there shooting, and I said, well, if you're going to play with the goggles on, you need to shoot with them on. He did so, but he probably played less than 2 minutes with those goggles on, tossed them to the side. That was game one, and I don't believe we've seen them since. But his condition does not allow for them to make contacts other than glass contacts, and he refuses to wear those. But one thing about Chris Likes, I don't care if he doesn't see well in either eye. His feel for the game is so high, he'll be able to find ways to be effective on the floor today.
Well, Clemson on top, 11-7. Stone had hit what appeared to be a 3 moments ago. They went to the monitor. They changed that to a 2. Here's McGusty. He fires away, but can't hit it.
Alamir Doss stepping in, taking the rebound away from Amir Sims. That's a no-no for guards. That's one thing you don't do. You see the big guy has the rebound, you let him have it, he hands it off to you. You don't want to take away the stats from the big fella.
Doss 6'2", but a very good rebounding guard, very tough. Newman on the attack, leaning in, and got it to go. That was a tough shot.
And he has been spectacular, doubling his scoring average and his production all season long for the Tigers. And one of the things that Jim Larinaga talked to us about before the game was Clemson's ability to shoot the three. They're going to take a lot of them, but when they're making them, they're hard to guard. They've already knocked down 3 in this game.
So there's your early trend. He was wary of that. They're a high-volume three-point shooting team. Shot clock down to 7. Miller, the 7-footer, putting it to the deck, trying to get in the lane. He rolls. Well, you don't see many bigs do that anymore. Newman harassed at midcourt and got it free to Tyson.
When you say you don't see many bigs do that anymore, are you talking about the sky hook?
The sky hook.
But you should see more bigs do it.
I absolutely love seeing it.
I agree with it. And, you know, of course, I'll take that over floater anytime.
I know how you feel about the floaters.
Yeah, not a fan. Look at my guy.
Here's Likes. Can't hit it off the back of the iron, but a second effort for the Canes. Stone doubled up. And he fired that one out of bounds. So Clemson off to a good start, leading at 13-7.
And John Newman III has been great this year for Clemson, especially when he's getting to the free throw line, attacking the basket. And you see here, he stays in attack mode. And going over a larger defender in McGusty still has the presence of mind and the concentration to be able to finish that one at the rim.
Newman hits about 31% beyond the three-point line. Moving it inside to Jemison. In close, and it rolls in and out. Well, got the shot he wanted. Another 7-footer on the floor here in Greensboro. Likes at 5'7". Good ball movement. to the wing shooter McGusty. Miller with the second chance. Wong thought about a three. He'll try the two and fouled on the play as he drained it. So 13-9.
Rodney Miller with the offensive rebound, finding Isaiah Wong, who's able to finish with the and one off the jumper.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by New York Life, helping people act on their love for 175 years.
From all those 2 seed lines, I'm going with my man Coach Ham and the Noles. I think they have a Final Four run in them this year, as our guy Joey Brackets has them in the number 2 seed line right now. I wonder if any of that has to do with how they finish in the ACC tournament.
We shall see here. Obviously, the number 1 seed, Leonard Hamilton, ACC Coach of the Year. That was a runaway. What a team the Noles have, as deep as ever, but they could really shoot it. Newman in close, and that's a tough drive for 2.
I love the finish, Obi, but I like the crossover a little better.
Yeah.
Going left to right for John Newman. That was nice getting in there. But one of the things where you see Miami's defense, they really don't want to draw in and close off the paint because they're fearful of Clemson's three-point shooting.
Likes sticking with that mask since he checked in several minutes ago. Chris Likes, 15 points a game, the 5'7" junior, electrifying guard, playing with that injury, that facial injury, the busted nose. Go back to that crossover. That was a thing of beauty.
It was. We saw a beautiful one from Brandon Robinson last night. John Newman getting in the mix right now. That's a wind-em-up cross right there. Harlan Beverly with no chance of staying in front of that. But more importantly, the body control at the rim to be able to finish. And we've seen Newman in attack mode early in this game.
Got 1 second to get off a shot. And that's a shot clock violation on Rodney Miller. Let's go over to Allison Williams.
Well, guys, another good defensive stand from Clemson. Brad Brownell telling his guys during the last timeout, you're doing a great job defensively. You're making them take tough shots. Just continue to contest and block out. The one thing they have to be better with, though, is defending the ball screens. They're getting behind them. He wants them to zone up and protect the basket better.
I thought Jim Laranaga's reaction there on the sideline was priceless after his team failed to get off that shot, running that play with 1 second to go. He's good comedy over there.
Yeah, I tell you what, he is entertaining on the sidelines, to say the least. But one of the best conversations you can have as a basketball person is to get a chance to talk to Jim Larinaga. He has a way to connect every dot.
Yes.
In basketball. It doesn't matter who you bring up. There's a way that he knows them or has some type of relationship with someone that knows them.
Sims will swing it. Newman again trying to get inside but denied on a terrific block by Wardenberg. It was all over him. Clemson by 5. Yeah, with Jim you get it straight from the heart, and a foul with 9:43 to go for the Bronx, New York native. He will give it to you straight. Getting a little bit physical here in the first half.
But great defensive rotation by the Tigers. You see John Newman III coming in and causing the deflection and the interruption, and then Chris Likes picks up the foul as Alamir Dawes goes after the basketball.
Boy.
And I can tell you right now, I've spent a lot of time with both those young fellas, those point guards. They may be the 2 toughest dudes on the court right now. And so that's not something that even they blink about. But can't forget the fact that John Newman III is playing at home. He played for Freddie Johnson at Greensboro Day School. He's at home right now. He has to put on a show.
Pass tipped away. Allie?
Guys, I talked to John Newman about playing here in Greensboro, which he was obviously very excited about. He said he has about 20 friends and family in attendance. And where do you think the first place he went when he got back to Greensboro was?
Where was it?
The barber shop.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, Allison,
I get that, yeah.
Allison, I heard the conversation that Amir Sims was having with you regarding John Newman's haircut, and he says all he does is wake up.
Yeah, he said there's no product, there's no work that goes into it. He rolls out of bed like that, but he did come and get it kind of freshened up a little bit with his barber.
Okay.
Appreciate you laying in that knowledge on this broadcast, because Billis and Shulman would have no idea what we're talking about.
Aren't they 2 of the bald men on campus?
That's what I've heard.
Okay.
Barely got to the iron by Mack there. And Beverly with it for the Hurricanes. 15-10. It's been frozen there for a while. You see Likes, he only has 1 gear. So every time he goes into a pack of guys like that, he's risking re-injuring one of those facial injuries. He's got like 6 of them.
But that's the thing. He knows no other way to play. We talked with Coach Larinaga about that earlier, and I asked him, I said, do you have to at times protect Chris from himself? And he said he made a mistake early in the year, allowing Chris to play in the Florida State game when he wasn't 100%. It ended up costing Chris to miss the next 4 games after that. Hasn't been himself, and now has had to miss the last one in the regular season. But great to see him back on the court. But it's been an injury-plagued year for Chris Lykes as well.
The lid on both baskets here for the last 3 or 4 minutes. Way downtown, Wong trying to end it, but can't. Both teams in a drought.
But what we're not seeing from Miami, what we are seeing from Clemson, is that player who can find its way to get to the rim. When the jump shots aren't falling, you've got to be able to put the other team's defense in compromising positions, attacking them, getting to the basket, or getting to the free throw line. If you're not going to make shots, at least you can make the 15 with no one guarding.
Well, you're right. And they're not falling for Miami. They're 1 for 11 from three-point land. Sims squares up. Got the shooter's roll on that one.
And he is a matchup nightmare for teams because this year with injuries, he's forced to play the 5 position. But he's a power forward who has small forward skill. So when you look at that, having to have centers guard Amir Sims is always going to be the play-in game. I'm not sure if they call it the first round, what it's called now, but they still need to, in my opinion, have a successful showing here in Greensboro. But one thing for certain, when the Pack are in the building, Wolfpack Nation will follow. They will have great support here in their game.
Yes, they are noisy. A lot of them starting to assemble right now. Getting ready for the next game. NC State taking on Pitt, and Justin Champagnie, who is spectacular against Wake Forest in the first game yesterday, exploding for 30 points and hit every shot that he took.
And that was a statement, in my opinion, from Justin Champagnie, who, in my opinion, was the biggest snub in all of the ACC voting. There's no way he should have been left off of the all-rookie team for the ACC this season.
And he mentioned that after the game.
He should have. I'm glad he did. And again, I prefer for athletes to be honest and tell you what they're honestly feeling in comparison to give you sports cliches. I like the fact that he mentioned it.
Lykes on target. So Lykes getting into the scoring column. And a 17-13 Clemson advantage.
Miami's such a different team with Chris Lykes on the floor because of his ability to make plays, and you have to fear the three-point shot. But he'll drive past you and make plays for himself or his teammates as well. And you have to account for so much of him being on the floor. Like right now, you got to pick Chris Lykes up 28 feet from the basket. You can't allow him to get a running start at you. And right now, somebody's in trouble.
Absolute dynamo, too.
When he's dribbling the basketball like this, it's a setup. He's going to work.
Well, look at that. And hits it.
And you would think that I've seen Chris Lykes play a lot, and I have. I've watched him play since he was about 12 or 13 years old. And when you see him not giving the basketball up, he is in rhythm and ready to go to work.
Quick release, drops in 2. He's starting to get hot. 2-point game.
We'll get some things going offensively.
And Allison, that's a great point. And one of the reasons why he wants those shots from the top of the key in comparison to the sides, because it makes it much more difficult to get back in transition when you're taking those shots from the side of the floor. Your defense is unbalanced, giving opportunities to Clemson in transition.
Fallaway won't go for Newman, the 6'5" sophomore. When he has excelled, he's been very big. He had 17 against North Carolina in that win. Look at Lykes going right through the lane. Here's Stone back out into the corner, and that won't drop. Tough rebound in traffic. Vasilovic had it knocked away, but Miami retains. Shot clock down to 7 for the Canes. Auguste gave it up. In transition, Dawes. And slapped away, another turnover. That's 5 now for the Tigers.
And that's one of the areas of concern for Brad Brownell. When your team is not a great offensive team, the one thing you can't do is continue to give away possessions, especially when you've got a guy like Chris Lykes, who is feeling it right now and looking to find ways to get his team on the scoreboard.
Hunting his shot. Give his shot there. Brad Brownell, his 10th year for the Tigers. He took Clemson to the Sweet 16 just 2 years ago. 20 wins last year. This season has certainly been a challenge. Max shot didn't touch anything.
You know, we look around the league at who lost what. I'm not sure if there's anyone who lost as much as Brad Brownell did. You consider the fact that you lose 4 starters from a year ago, and then you have the injuries take place this year. You know, for the guys he had planned to replace them, John Baird going out only playing 2 games this season, retore the ACL. Chase Hunter, who was a standout guard, who started the first 10 games early in the year for Clemson, out for the season with a stress fracture. So it's been an injury-plagued year, but also when you consider what you were trying to replace from the previous year.
That is a nifty spin move by Cameron McGusty, the junior from Katy, Texas, transfer from Oklahoma. He's been a proven scorer throughout his career.
He has been dealing with back spasms all season long. That's one of the things. He's been a wild card for Miami because you don't know how he's going to feel on any given day. But when he's healthy, he has had great performances for the Canes.
Newman looking like a man who wants to shoot it, can't get it off. Shot clock down to 7. On the drive, Trapp tried to use the window, but no.
Great help by Keith Stone coming over and distracting Trapp, not giving him a clean look.
Vasiljevic will pull up and pop and can't get it to go, but he'll be at the line with just over 3 minutes to go in the first half.
And Cameron McGusty back must be feeling pretty good right now. Going off the dribble and the nice spin move to finish over Clyde Trapp to tie this game for the Canes.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Principal Financial Group. Start today.
I agree with you, Coach. And, of course, if anyone knows how to get it done, you do here. Many years coaching in the ACC tournament. But I agree with the, attacking the basket and not always looking to kick the basketball out. One of the lost arts in the game right now is the mid-range game. You don't have to get all the way to the rim. Oftentimes, the pull-up right at the ACC area is the best action for you. We've seen Chris Likes do that in this game, and there are a number of players that are capable. But right now, it's either feast or famine, 3 or a layup, and that's not often the best measure of success in these games.
Back got a really good look. Sims with the rebound. Has it knocked away from him.
And Fonz is always talking about getting the big man the ball.
Naturally.
I mean, Fonz and I were teammates in Denver. Of course, my first goal was to get him the basketball.
Get him the ball.
But he's got to understand right now, there's no LaFonso Ellis out here right now. I love Amir Sims. He's great. But there's no Fonz on this floor. And right now, Amir Sims, he likes to shoot the 3. He likes to be out on the perimeter. I'm not sure if going on the inside to Amir Sims is the right way for Brad Brownell in this group.
Well, Miami 3 out of 11 beyond the 3-point line. They've taken a 2-point lead, and they're also on a 9-0 run. Clemson without a point about 5 minutes. Now, Allie, you were over there listening in on the Clemson huddle.
Yeah, and he felt like on the defensive end, they're doing a good job. That Likes has just hit a couple tough shots. But offensively, he told his guys a couple times, you got to relax. He said, trust what we do offensively. Now, we need some better spacing. You got to be a bit more sharp. But really, Brad Brownell just wants his guys to relax.
Time for today's Need to Know, brought to you by Principal, with Miami leading it 19-17. Miami 3-point shooting, really cold. Likes didn't start. He has 5, but on the bench at the moment for the Canes.
I love Allison's report, and when she talks about Clemson relaxing, one of the things, there's pressure on both these two teams for this reason alone. They will both come in at 15-15, which means that whoever loses this first-round game is not NIT eligible. You have to be 500 or above. Yep. The other team is NIT eligible, and of course you want to win the ACC tournament, but more importantly, you want to keep playing. And if it's not going to be, I mean, only one team gets to win here in Greensboro this weekend, so you want to be able to keep playing, and I'm sure that's something that goes through not only these coaches' mind, but also the players, where for DJ Vasiljevic and Keith Stone, this could be their last college basketball game if they don't win today.
A daunting thought. That masked man, Likes, is back on the floor. Vasiljevic, nice off the window for 2, and he has 7.
And the Soldiers with 7 leads Miami, and that's often part of what you see is those seniors stepping up and playing, with that sense of urgency that you often don't see from younger players who know that they have another year, an opportunity to come back and play in this event next season.
Miami foul number 0. Now the foul will go against Likes. He picks up his 2nd with 90 seconds before halftime. And Cam McGusty back on for the Hurricanes. Clemson, the number 8 seed. Miami, the number 9. They met on New Year's Day, and Clemson won that game in overtime. Scott through the lane for 2. He just kept on moving.
A nice move by Kern Scott getting to the rim, and again, not settling. We talked about it, attacking the basket to finish. Seth Greenberg brought it up. Great point by Coach. Not going in there looking to kick it out for a 3, but going in trying to finish. We saw John Newman III do that early in the game, but we haven't seen much of it from Clemson over much of the middle of this first half.
Vasiljevic off balance and got hit in the face. No foul on that call. He's trying to blink it away as he gets back into his defensive position.
I can tell you from experience, Obi, that does not work. Blinking it away has never worked for me. No.
Getting Sims a touch and all net.
That's the way Amir Sims plays. He's a face-up forward, no question about that. Has the ability to shoot the basketball. He's not a back-to-the-basket guy, but when he gets the basketball in his spots, he can be extremely effective.
So it's been back and forth in the first 20 minutes. Final seconds of the half, tied at 21. McGusty. Here's Wong in the corner. 7 to get off a shot. McGusty again. Keeps the dribble. Flips it up. That won't drop. The tip won't either. The follow by Wong will. They have an opportunity to get off a heave here. Trap. And got iron, but it wouldn't fall for him. So we are at halftime where Miami has been golden when they have the lead. They are 14-0 this season when they have the outright lead, and they lead the Clemson Tigers here at the break 23-21 here in this second round.
Miami basketball.
So we begin the second half.
Coach Brownell, you talked about the need to shoot well from 3. Just 3 for 11 in that first half. But what's your take on the shots you're getting from outside?
I think they're okay. I mean, there's a couple bad ones in there, but, you know, we've just got to finish plays better offensively. I thought our defense was really good. Offensively, we had a couple transition situations we need to finish, and just need to relax, make a couple shots.
What were you most pleased with defensively?
I thought we contested a lot. I didn't think we gave them anything easy. I thought they had to make shots that were guarded, and I thought our guys did a reasonably good job. We just got to make sure we keep them off the glass as well.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you.
Dawes striking first to begin the second 20 minutes, tied at 23.
But he did what Clemson did so well early in the game, attacking the basket and looking for their offense at the rim, not looking to kick it out. We saw John Newman III get in there a number of times. Now Dawes for his second basket at the rim. And Clemson has an advantage there against Miami's defense, and that's where Miami's advantage normally is, knocking down the 3, especially when you've got DJ Vasiljevic taking the shot.
He's got 10 points. So Miami looking to heat up beyond that line and trying to play their way into the next round. Dawes finding Sims in tight for 2. Fonz is smiling back in the studio.
But I love the execution. But that's a set play coming out of the timeout, but it's not a action that they ran in the first half. There was different action, side screen and rolls. That time was more of a middle screen and roll, and no hesitation and no from Dawes finding Sims under the basket, but more importantly, no rotation defensively from Miami.
Vasiljevic with a line driver. He's taken 327 shots this season, 205 of them outside the three-point line. Dawes fires away and knocks it down.
Isn't it amazing how you see somebody get a layup earlier, and then just like that, it opens up things for them on the outside. We saw Dawes get a layup to start off the second half, and just like that, knocks down the 3. 5 quick points for Alamir Dawes to start the second half, and just like that, Chris Lights is up off the bench. Jim Larinaga doesn't like what he's seeing from the freshman point guard from Clemson early.
The winner to take on top-seeded FSU here in Greensboro. McGusty with a little step back. Yes. He buries a 3.
But that's one of the areas, if Jim Larinaga says, we'll give you 2s and we can get 3s, he'll take that. But right there, Cam McGusty just making a great individual play to put points on the board for the Canes.
Three-pointer on the way, and that's off the back iron by Trapp, the 6-foot sophomore. Here's McGusty. So there's a lot of contact there. Swung up top for McGusty. Shot clock at 14. He'll fire away again. Can't get this one to go. And a save on the baseline. Mack with a nice play. Newman in traffic takes a stumble. It'll stay right here. 16:48 to go. Clemson Tigers at one point in the season lost 3 starters to injuries. We've talked a lot about the Hurricanes and their injury woes. Tigers have had plenty too.
They really have, and you couple that with the fact that they lost their starting backcourt and starting center a year ago. You're losing guys that were replacement players for a team that has been successful over the past couple of seasons and young players. So Amir Sims, really the true experience coming back for Clemson. Tevin Mack, the grad transfer, has experience, but not in a Tiger uniform. And Brad Brownell dealing with a lot early in the year. And this is a team that struggled in the non-conference, but really got it going in conference play. And if not for many of those injuries, we could be talking about them in bracketology as well.
Dawes with the foul. Are you like me? Every time Chris Likes makes contact with someone and his head is thrown back, you wince?
No. And the reason I'm not is because Chris Likes is as tough as they get. And evidenced by the fact that he's actually playing after that. And the reason why he tweeted what he tweeted is because he probably felt like he was going to be in the concussion protocol and they weren't going to allow him to play.
I think you're right.
One thing about Chris Likes, if he's capable, he will be on that floor. And I know he's happy to be back here playing in the ACC tournament.
Well, I'm kind of amazed he's in there with all of those injuries. You know, effectively a broken nose, stitches, vision problems, having to wear the mask, which he's worn throughout the game. He did not start. Tough shot by Mack in traffic, the graduate from Columbia, South Carolina.
And a small thing right there defensively, but if Keystone falls down, he most likely gets an offensive foul on Tevin Mack coming in. Because
right.
He stood up and took the contact. There's no foul, but he could have taken 2 points off the board.
Stone on the spin. Silovich will swing it. Here's Likes open. Can't bury that. He had gotten hot for a span of about 5 or 6 minutes in the first half. Clemson in front by 1. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Principal Financial Group. Start today at principal.com.
The hesitation late coming over from Keystone. No contest at the rim, but that's part of the reason why Miami's been so inconsistent defensively this year. We've talked with Jim Larinaga about that, and he says his personnel has made a difference as well as the injuries. But right now, guys not locked in has hurt them as Clemson's gotten up to a great start. 4 for 6 from the field to start this second half.
Well, Allison, you were listening in on the Miami huddle moments ago.
Yeah, and Coach Larinaga talking to his team about offensively how they're catching the ball and then allowing Clemson to close out. He said you need to start playing offense before you catch the ball, not after. And the same thing on the defensive end. He said you're letting them catch the ball and then you play defense. You have to be engaged sooner on both ends of the court.
Yeah, we've saw that a number of times. Being flat-footed defensively, you allow an offensive player to come at you with a running start. You have no chance of being able to keep them out of the paint.
Well, Sam Ordenberg got a good open look, although the three-pointer hasn't been falling for him all season long, just 14 out of 64. And so the momentum certainly on the Tigers' end right now. Scott with a pull-up pop. Sims with a tough board. Great pass for Mack and 2.
And those are the first second chance points of the game for the Tigers. Amir Sims with a nice offensive board and an even better pass.
So 32-29 the Tigers. Mack will be hit with a foul there, trying to contain Chris Likes with 14 minutes to go.
Amir Sims doing a great job, and more importantly, as you see 3 jerseys around Sims, is able to find Tevin Mack cutting in. And Mack also does a great job of making himself available. He doesn't just stand and watch. Finds the open spot to make himself available for Sims to drop off the dime.
Tigers defeated 3 top 6 opponents this season, Duke, Louisville, and FSU, to play their way into some bubble talk at the end of February. And then they promptly lost to Georgia Tech and Miami. On the drive, Likes, he hits the deck and a foul.
And OB, you see it once again. He only has one speed.
Yes.
And if you're going to have Chris Lykes on the floor, you have to expect for him to go and find the contact. This is the way that he plays, goes in. At this point, I don't even think Chris Lykes recognizes that he has a broken nose and a swollen eye and a mask on his face. He's just playing basketball, doing what he loves to do, and happens to be pretty good at it.
And a very good foul shooter tonight. Our NBA Wednesday doubleheader tipping off in Dallas. The Mavs hosting the Nuggets at 8 p.m. Our coverage begins with Stephen A's pregame Sports Center at 7 p.m. on ESPN. Zion in action.
And you actually have the last two ACC players of the year playing that game. Zion Williamson for the Pelicans, and you see what he's been able to do, and had a fantastic tournament in Charlotte last year. But then you got Marvin Bagley playing for the Kings, and Bagley may not be healthy right now, but a lot of Duke star power along with Harry Giles in that second game coming up. And Zion's performance last year at the ACC tournament, only second to what Randolph Childress did in Charlotte back in 1995. A spectacular performance nonetheless.
Foul is on Dawes, by the way, his third. So for the Clemson Tigers, that's very important. 6'2" freshman on the spin. Stone, strong move.
That was a nice move by Keith Stone there, and something that you probably would like to see more of for Miami in their offensive package, especially when you consider the way he handled himself on the block on that last possession. He would make Fonz proud on that one.
Miami by 1. Well, we were expecting a nip and tuck game. That's exactly what we're getting. When they met early in the season, it went overtime. Dawes way downtown, around and out.
This is what we're supposed to see from an 8-9 game, though, right? These two teams are supposed to be relatively evenly matched. Love the fact that they've come out, and both teams have done a great job competing. It always hasn't been beautiful on the offensive end of the floor, but they have both competed as though this game means something to each one of them.
Absolutely, as Wong lets fly off the front of the iron. Scott spearheading the drive. And a blocking foul with 12:32 to go. And a 1-point Miami lead for Jim Larrañaga on his 36th overall season of coaching, his 9th year at Miami. He's posted 3 25-win seasons at Miami after that storybook run to the 2006 Final Four at George Mason.
And after 27.5 minutes of play, Clemson will take their first free throws of the game. Scott getting to the line, getting out in transition. And you often see that with teams who shoot a lot of jump shots, as Clemson does, but they also do a great job getting downhill, going to the rim. And to play this long without getting to the free throw line, I'm sure that's conversation that Brad Brownell has had with the officials at some point during this game.
Maybe on a couple of occasions. But, you know, it is interesting. It's fascinating, really, because they've been, to my way of thinking, the aggressor in the lane.
I would agree with you on that. I think they've done a great job. We saw earlier with John Newman, we've seen Alamir Dawes, a number of guys getting into the painted area for Clemson, but yet they've been finishing many of those shots and not getting fouled, which I'm sure Brad Brownell would prefer to have the two than going to the free throw line as well.
Lykes will stick that jumper. So another lead change, and John Madry tells me that's the 8th one in this game, so we'll keep track of that down the stretch these last 12 minutes.
And we have to remember Chris Lykes scored 27 points in that overtime victory over Clemson earlier in the year. So he knows that this is a team that he can be aggressive against and have success. And I can see his level of aggression pick up over this last 12 minutes.
Lykes on the move. Shot clock down to 11. Now to 7. Wong going one-on-one into the paint. They got to get a shot in the air. Stone through the paint. A wild shot. Got it back, and the jumper will be short.
2 offensive rebounds for Miami on this possession, ending up with Chris Lykes with another opportunity.
And they're going to get Miller over the back for the personal foul. Miami by 1.
Well, Chris Lykes missed the last one, but on the previous possession, he got back into his bags. Chris Lykes crafty in the lane.
NC State one of the last 4 ins, says Joe Lunardi. So this is a gigantic game.
It really is, and I don't think a loss would keep them on that line. I'm not sure that they're solidified. So when you consider also the bid stealers that are out there with so many different conference tournaments being played, NC State needs to have a strong showing, in my opinion, here in Greensboro to solidify themselves in the NCAA tournament's at-large bid.
Trapp powering his way into the lane. Here's Tyson on the attack with the left hand. That's a beautiful shot.
But another great drive by the Tigers, not settling on the perimeter, driving it to the rim and finding success. One thing for certain, you're not going to be met with much resistance at the rim for Miami. They don't have shot blockers on the floor, and Clemson has it in their mind. They're going to drive it.
Agassi dribbling that one off his toe as we go to Allison Williams.
Well, Chris Likes was the predominant topic of conversation in the Clemson huddle. Brad Brownell said that when he has the ball in his hands, he's going to be looking to score. You have to stay connected on defense and make him take tough contested shots and make sure they're staying disciplined in their ball screen coverage. But also, guys, when Clemson has the ball and is trying to bring it up the court and Likes is pressuring the ball, they need to be cognizant of who has the ball in their hands and make sure they've got their ball handlers bringing it up the court.
Well, this is one of the plays of the game so far. John Newman taking a shot, making the basket.
And again, attacking the basket. John Newman, we've seen him do it at the beginning of the game. Now we see him do it in the second half. But it hasn't just been Newman. It's been the Clemson Tigers. And when they're in attack mode, they've been successful. We saw them go through a long drought in the first half where they were settling for jump shots. But right now, Brad Brownell has gotten his team accustomed to going to the rim. And now their third straight free throw. Now they find themselves with a 4-point lead.
Not many leads in this one bigger than that. 39-35 in our first game of round 2 in Greensboro. Silovic into the paint, but nothing there. Shot clock a factor, down to 7. Wong took a look at it. On a crossover, stepping inside, and an offensive foul.
OB, you see the difference defensively and what you see on one end of the floor. Now when Miami has the ball, you see the help of Hunter Tyson coming over, taking the charge, and the Clemson Tigers defense now operating the way Brad Brownell wants to see as we watch the Panthers getting ready for the next game. And right now, Clemson trying to take care of business here at the Greensboro Coliseum. Either of these teams, they know both very well.
Tigers shooting the ball much better in the second half. Clemson hitting 53%. Scott going down and commits a foul after the turnover. 9:35 to play here in the second half. That'll be number 2 on Scott, playing for his 3rd school. He's been at Tulsa and Charlotte before Clemson.
And we mentioned Tevin Mack's travel route. Texas, Alabama, and now Clemson. So definitely well-traveled players on Brad Brownell's roster this year.
Seen some campuses.
Amazing when you look at Tevin Mack's notes. He's played against 46 power conference teams throughout his career.
46.
He's played in 34 different power conference facilities.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That is. That's some traveling.
It is.
And some really good opponents, yeah. Trapp will swing it. Tyson gets it downstairs. Here's Sims on the block. And will spin inside and knock it down. Wardenberg hitting the deck. No one was buying it.
But the best part of that play was the fact that Amir Sims did not stop. If he had stopped and looked guilty, more than likely you would have heard a whistle. But the officials not rewarding Wardenberg for going down. And Amir Sims continues to play and gets an easy bucket.
Silovic left open and cashes in on a 3. He's got 13. So you felt when you played that if you had a guilty look on your face,
absolutely,
they're going to nail you.
They're going to call it. If you stop, then that gives the official that time really to say, okay, well, he must have felt like he committed the foul. But if you never stop, they don't call it.
Tyson knocking down that one from long range. And he's shown flashes of big impact. He had 21 against Wake, Hit a clutch three in the last 2 minutes against North Carolina. McGusty lines it up, and it rattles in for 3-point land.
And what has been a battle of trying to get into the paint. And the points in the paint battle, which Clemson has won, is now turned into a three-point shooting contest over the last couple of possessions. Vasiljevic starting to warm up, and now Cam McGusty knocking down the three.
Sims tries to hook it up there, but it won't drop for him. Yeah, three-point shooting contest. You wouldn't have bet on that the way they shot it in the first half. When they were both very cold, here's Lights to pop it up there and knock down the three-pointer.
Speaking of hot, if there's anyone that can get hot in a hurry, it is Chris Lights, and Brad Brownell does not like it at all and wants a timeout to discuss it as Amir Sims goes to work on the block, catching the basketball, going all Alfonso Ellis on us, playing bully ball, not pleading guilty to the foul, but finishing it off. And he needed it because right now they're in the battle, and Chris Lights is heating. He plays, and you see, even with the mask, even with the injuries, it does not change his game. Chris Lights takes a beating, and he keeps on going at his opponents. The crossover, knocking down the three. And Lights has tied this game for the Canes. And you see their second half three-point shooting, 50% from beyond the arc after a struggle in the first half. Chris Lights getting his team back in the offensive rhythm.
5'7" junior from Mitchellville, Maryland, is beat up pretty much as you can be. And for more on his story, let's toss it to Allie.
Again, Brad Brownell talking his team about their defense on Lights. He's like, guys, you got to guard him. I shouldn't have to tell you this. You can't make a couple shots and then start loafing on the defensive end. Do what we practice. Make him take contested shots. Too many easy looks.
And how about the beauty of that pass to get it to McGusty, thread the needle.
But Scott is watching Chris Lights, and because he's such a focus for your team when you're on the defensive end of the floor, you lose track of your own guy. And you see McGusty does a great job of not standing on the perimeter. As Lights comes over, you see Scott concerned about Lights, not allowing him to get to the basket. McGusty with a simple back cut. Chris Lights recognizing it, doing a great job finding his teammate McGusty cutting for the layup.
So Miami by 2. Scott up top. He likes that move, going for the glass again, and another whistle with 6:39 on the clock. And a foul will go against Vasiljevic. That'll be his third. And that'll put Scott at the line. And a very steady foul shooter at 76%. They've spent very little time at the line today. Sports Center tonight at 6 after PTI with Sage Steele and Kevin Agandi. They get Stephen A's take on Zion's statement games that start tonight and the best bets to win the tournaments. Tied again. And when this one is finished up, we've got NC State and Pitt coming off a big win over Wake Forest in round 1 yesterday. Shot clock down to 8. Vasiljevic looking for a pass and just threw it away right to Sims. Sims in transition, with the stuff and a dunk in the ball game so far today.
And Clemson's able to take the 2-point lead, but how many teams can have their 5-man intercept a pass and yet make a play in the full court to drop a dime to a teammate running? Which is part of the reasons why Clemson is so difficult to defend. And speaking of difficult to defend,
yeah. Likes.
That should be his name. Difficult to defend. Don't even call him Chris Likes anymore.
That masked man, he's starting to become a terror in this one. Sims bumping with Stone, hit the shot. They're going to wave that off. No basket with 5:32 to go, but fouled on that move.
Amir Sims coming up with the steal in transition. Doesn't have to look for a guard. Has his own ball handling skills, and nice find to John Newman III, who finishes in highlight fashion.
Amir Sims on the line.
So Sims to the line where he's 70%. His game of the year came in the upset of Duke, as he makes the front end. 25 points, 9 rebounds. And to your point, he had 5 assists in that game, so he can deal it.
He really can. And of course, right before that, the Saturday before, the huge performance in Chapel Hill over and winning in North Carolina for the first time ever for Clemson. And I'm not sure anyone other than Brad Brownell had a greater week than Amir Sims. Brad Brownell actually became the all-time winningest coach in Clemson history with that Duke win.
Likes again. It barely got to the iron. Here's Sims again in the open floor. The deflected pass went right back to him. As we approach the 5-minute mark, and Clemson holding on to a 1-point lead. By the way, Likes got hit in the face with that basketball, so he's taking some knocks. Sims again. Yes! With a three-pointer.
Well, right now, Amir Sims, 13th All-ACC performer this season, is showing up not just with his scoring, but also his playmaking and his defense. And he is a main part of the reason why the Tigers have a 4-point lead.
Beautiful shot off the glass by McGusty off the spin. 53-51. Tyson off to Newman. Tyson's giving Clemson a really nice lift.
He really has, especially when you consider that Miami has gone small to be able to try to defend Clemson. You put Tyson in, his ability to shoot the three puts so much more pressure when you're playing against this type of defense.
Silovich with a mid-range jumper. That's sweetly done off the
great pull up by DJ Vasiljevic. And Obi, of course, you know me very well to know I hate floaters. I love the fact that he went to the pull up in comparison to picking up the offensive foul while Tyson was waiting for him to run him over.
There's a bump by Stone. So he'll pick up the foul. We are knotted at 53.
Miami foul number 4, Keith Stone.
NC State, a giant game still to come as they get ready in the hallway to take on Pitt. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by New York Life, helping people act on their love for 175 years.
The ancient Greeks had 4 words for love.
On both ends of the floor for their respective teams, we're in for a great finish, Kev.
Back to Greensboro, Obi and Corey.
Kev, thank you. 9 ties, 13 lead changes, and 11 of those in the second half, and we just had another one.
But, Obi, I'm not sure if anyone would have guessed when you look at Clemson from the free throw line that Corinne Scott would be the guy that has shot 6 of their 9 free throw attempts in this game. You probably wouldn't think that would work well for Clemson, especially when you consider the way that they have so many players in Alamir Dawes, John Newman, Amir Sims that attack the basket, but Scott has given them a huge lift.
He has.
Off the bench in this game.
Likes, catches, fires, and that one's short, and Scott picks off the rebound. So Clemson leading 55-53. Down the stretch we come. And of course a big night session as well. Backdoor cut by Dawes. He's fouled on the play. Sean McDonough, Dan Dockich will be at work tonight in the nighttime games. That hallway is getting more camera time than you today.
Oh, no. That's not part of my contract. No. We got to change that.
Alamir Dawes to the line, 76%. They love the great competitive spirit that he plays with. Those are the words of Brad Brownell. Loves that about Dawes. And here you go. I want to, let everybody know that these were actually 2 different stores that we shopped in.
It's actually not.
we see the same stylist. So does Brad Brownell, by the way.
Well, that means that you and Brad have great taste. Of course,
yeah.
You know I can't pick out my own clothes, so.
They're a little challenged in that regard, aren't we all? Timeout, 57-53.
Well, Amir Sims, who had 21 points in the first matchup between these two teams, didn't have a great first half, but was effective, but has really come out and turned it up in the second half. The nice finish, the easy finish after Wardenberg takes the fall, but then Sims stealing the basketball, getting out in transition. The nice find for John Newman, who finishes off. And then Amir Sims' ability to shoot the ball from beyond the three-point arc makes him a matchup nightmare when teams have to game plan against the Clemson Tigers. And right now, you see Sims only had 4 first-half points, 9 second-half points. And if Clemson's going to win this game, most likely he's not done with his offensive production.
Clemson getting to the line as well, finally, without shooting a foul shot in the first half. They're 11 for 11 in the second half.
And it's been Scott doing a great job attacking the rim, as well as you look at Sims playing with his back to the basket a bit. Alamir Dawes getting downhill, John Newman. But this Clemson team, and you've mentioned it, they've been the aggressor for the majority of this game against Miami as long as Chris Likes isn't on the floor. When Likes is on the floor, his level of aggressiveness changes what Miami does.
Stone off balance, but simply thrown away once they got it back. So Miami with a break and 2:50 to play.
I love on that possession that when you look at both head coaches, they each have their hands out looking at their respective teams saying, why?
Yes. Same question. Stone has it batted away in a whistle. 2:44 to go. Clemson by 4.
Clemson foul number
Foul will go against John Newman.
2 basketball savants here when you consider both these guys not only great coaches but great players as well. And they're both guys who love to talk about, well, I won't say Brad Burnell loves to talk about his, but you can get him going with his basketball playing career. You don't have to say much to Coach Larranaga for him to tell you his stats. He'll tell you how many he scored in a particular game.
Yeah, you don't have to say much to Coach anyway, because man, can he talk basketball. If he ever wanted, I know he's dabbled in some broadcasting. If he ever wanted to just do this, he'd be great at this. 57-53.
Brownell told me yesterday that I had to be careful because Amir Sims may take my job.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Amir definitely has that level of personality. He's that type of guy. And I didn't appreciate Coach Brownell telling me that. I mean, I'd like to keep my job.
Put you on warning. I'd like to keep it for a while anyway.
But Amir most likely, you know, will stick around and play his senior year at Clemson, then go play professional basketball for 10, 15 more years. So hopefully I've got some time.
I think you're safe for a while. McGusty steps off. Wardenberg on for the Hurricanes. Trailing by 4. Dawes airborne and bumped. Likes with a personal. That was with 8 on the shot clock. That'll be number 3 on Chris Likes.
And the way Chris Likes has been beat up this game, he's looking at the officials wondering why they're actually even calling fouls on him. He's taken so many hits in this one. It feels as though he probably should get a pass, having a conversation with Ron Groover. And you know, that's one of the things I love about the ACC and these officials is because when you're doing a conference and you have the relationship with players, you have conversations that don't end up to be negatives. You can go ask an official, what did I do? You have a conversation, you go on, and you try to clean it up the next time. But I love that about these officials. We have a great group that referee the ACC
You know what,
games.
though? It should be like that. It should be like that everywhere.
I agree. I agree.
You should have that freedom to have a discussion with an official without any fear of retribution.
And also making sure that players know that you have to go about that discussion in a respectful manner.
Timeout, Miami. Jim Larranaga a little worried right now with 2:08 to go, and Clemson has opened up a 59-53 lead here in the second round of the ACC tournament. Great to have you with us here in Greensboro. Florida State, the #1 seed. And of course, who's going to bet against the Duke Blue Devils and Coach K in any tournament? And to come later on, we've got Florida State, the #1 seed, taking on the winner of this one. That will be tomorrow. NC State and Pitt right around the corner next on ESPN.
And when you look at the ACC tournament, you see the 4 teams that have really been dominant throughout the season, with Florida State, Virginia, Duke, and Louisville at the top. But I can't honestly say that there is a favorite to win the tournament this year. That's the way that college basketball has been this year. And when you look at Florida State, the #1 seed in the tournament, I know they want to win, but I can tell you that if they don't win the ACC tournament, even if they don't get the championship, Saturday, I don't think it's the worst thing for them because they have Final Four and NCAA tournament championship aspirations.
Sure.
And if you look at 2015 with Duke, 2017 with North Carolina, and 2019 with Virginia, none of those teams even played on Championship Saturday in the ACC tournament.
Interesting.
And those 3 games in 3 days, it takes a lot out of you as a team, especially when you've got to turn around and possibly go play on that Thursday of the NCAA
And
tournament.
for me, the real intriguing stories in this tournament are North Carolina and NC State. NC State right there as one of the last 4 in at this point. And North Carolina, can they come from a 14 seed, win 5 games here? Everybody you talk to says they certainly can do that.
Well, I believe if there was ever a team that could do it in ACC tournament history, it would be them, as Likes takes another bump to the floor.
He did.
With that mask, but loses the basketball. And comes up with the Alamir Dawes comes up with the steal, and that's a big possession because when you consider a 6-point lead now, if Clemson's able to make this a 3-possession lead, that could be huge moving forward the remainder of this game.
Dawes with a kick out. Tyson, yes, he buries a 3, and a huge shot. It's actually the biggest lead of the day for the Tigers.
And there could not have been a better plan for Brad Brownell coming out of the timeout, getting the stop, the turnover, and turning it into a 3-point bucket on the other side of the floor, the best case scenario for the Tigers.
Time running out of Miami. Wong trying to make a move. Vasilovic can't hit the 3, and Sims grabs the rebound. 62-53. Clemson feeling really good about themselves right now. Foul right at midcourt. 1:03 to go. Was this the dagger by Tyson?
We've seen crazier things happen, but with 1:03 remaining, this may be the biggest shot of the game thus far. Alamir Dawes attacking the paint, finding Hunter Tyson, who steps up and knocks down another 3 as the Tigers separate themselves by 9 points. An opportunity to go double digits here at the free throw line with Dawes.
So Dawes to the line, 76%. Clemson didn't spend any time there at all in the first half. Their performance at the line in the second half has made all the difference. They've made 14 foul shots. They get 15. Now they have opened up an 11-point lead with a minute to play. Likes from 3-point land. Got it.
3-point basket, Chris Likes.
58.6 to go. Pressure here by the Canes. In for Scott. Finds Sims. He can handle it. Newman not fouled. He'll lay it in.
And I like the play by John Newman, not pulling the basketball out and settling, allowing Miami to foul him, send him to the free throw line. Go take the easy 2. Put the pressure on Miami's offense to go down and score.
Well, we flash back to FSU and Clemson. FSU gets the winner. This February 29 was the date. Alamir Dawes scored the game-winning layup with 1 second remaining to lift the Tigers to a thrilling 70-69 victory over FSU as he went all the way with a brilliant play.
And we've seen Dawes attack the basket a number of times just like that. And what that really halted was another heroic performance by Trent Forrest, who we've seen make big shots all the time this year. I mean, time after time for the Seminoles, but Alamir Dawes, the hero, 18 points for him in that upset win at Littlejohn. And Littlejohn Coliseum returning to the most difficult place to play in the ACC, similar to what it was many years ago when I was playing in the ACC. That was a place where you did not want to go into and have to take on the Tigers.
Pitt trying to win their second game of the tournament after eliminating Wake Forest yesterday behind Champagne's 31 points. They're moments away from taking the court against the Wolfpack. And since this game was tied at 53, Clemson's gone on a 13-3 run. Time winding down. Long off to Likes. Dawes sticking with him. Off the Stone. Has to heave it up there. No. Rebound out to Likes. He hits another 3.
3-point basket, Chris Likes.
A 7-point game still, 3-possession game. And shows how huge that 3-pointer by Hunter Tyson was with just over a minute to play, because even though Chris Likes has knocked down back-to-back 3-pointers on Miami possessions, Clemson is still able to maintain that lead, and still once again at the free throw line, where Clemson has been perfect tonight. Alamir Dawes has a chance to make it a 3-possession game once again with under 30 seconds remaining.
Freshman from Newark, New Jersey, a top 100 ESPN prospect. Chose Clemson over St. John's, Seton Hall, and UConn as he elected to come south. Very confident at the line. He nails the first one.
And 16 for 16 from the free throw line. What coach can ask more of that, especially when you get to crunch time, to be able to go to the line and stay perfect, giving the opponent no chance whatsoever to make a comeback.
Ken Likes do it again. He's hit a couple of big threes here, nearly stumbled. Wardenberg, that didn't touch anything, but it's caught by Vasiljevic, and he lays it in. 18 seconds to go. Sims trying to get it in, and it's turned over. Here's Wong from the corner. Got it with 14.5 seconds to play.
4-point game. Brad Brownell beside himself right now, watching this possession, seeing Amir Sims throw the basketball away. And the one thing, if you are going to have to force it in, you want to throw it as far away from your basket as you possibly can. Give your teammate a chance to track it down. And you see Wardenberg was unable to finish, but give Vasiljevic credit for following up the shot. And as Amir Sims does not run the baseline, although he can, if he throws it over the top to Scott, who's running down the floor, now Miami's not in scoring position when they turn the basketball over.
Give Isaiah Wong a lot of credit, too, making sure he didn't step out of bounds. So many guys are doing that with the extended three-point line this year. They're stepping out of play.
That has been the turnover of the year, is that backward step, retreating and stepping out of bounds. But Isaiah Wong, who has grown up as a freshman for Miami, knocking down a big shot. Still a 2-possession game. And the way Clemson shot their free throws, they're still in good shape. But now a little more anxiety on that sideline, as we've seen a tremendous comeback in just the last 14 seconds alone.
Game 2 coming up shortly. NC State, they're getting ready. The Wolfpack, the number 5 seed, ready to do battle with the 13 seed, the Pitt Panthers. They jumped on the shoulders of their gifted freshman Champagny yesterday. He led them to victory over Wake Forest to play in round 2. So here we go, 14.5 to play. And we expected a wild finish. We're starting to get that in the 8-9 game, which never disappoints.
Never.
Saw Likes on the sideline right now. Dawson stole it away. Got it inside for Walker, and he is fouled on that play. And another turnover forced by Miami. Goodness.
And right now, if I'm Brad Brownell on the next possession, I may have to consider having Alamir Dawes take the basketball out of bounds. And you want him to be one of the guys shooting free throws. But you see Dawes running away from the pass to where Trapp throws the basketball, allowing Walker to step right into it.
Freshman from Baltimore can't sink the first one. 71% at the line during the season.
But still with a make here, it's a 1-possession game, and the way Clemson handled the basketball.
Rebound tip to battle for that. And it'll go the other way.
But at this point, you have the opportunity to go to the monitor and find out for certain. I love this rule instituted by the NCAA because, again, under 2 minutes, you make sure that you get it right.
So the ruling on the court, Clemson ball, 10.4.
So we get an opportunity, the basketball up for grabs, and you see Wardenberg in the miss. And I believe that's going to stay with Clemson. It does look like it is off Wardenberg's hand last. John Newman does get a hand on it, but you see Wardenberg's left hand come in and change the direction of the basketball, sending it out of bounds.
Yep, very clear.
And you know what's even more clear? The officials took very little time figuring this one out. It's easy to see getting the guys back on the court to finish this remaining 10.4.
But getting it in has been a problem here for the Tigers in these final seconds.
But regardless, if you're Clemson, if you're going to turn it over, throw it to the other end of the floor, make Miami have to spend some time to score.
Miami in the last 56 seconds has outscored the Tigers 11-4. And they've reset the clock to 10.6. And Clyde Trapp, the 6'4" sophomore, trying to get it in. And he does for Sims, and he'll be fouled by Stone. His fourth personal foul. So a little more than 1 second went off.
I don't care how much coaches get paid. And for the people who criticize college basketball coaches for the amount of money they make, let them go through this level of anxiety that Brad Brownell is going through right now.
Darn right.
And again, after that, you'll see that what they do is more than worth it. When you consider what is going on and your job hangs within the line and the balance and dealing with 17 to 22, 23-year-old young men, walk in these shoes for a couple of days and figure it out. And then, you know, get those phone calls at 1 in the a.m. saying, hey, coach, we got a problem.
Yes. Meanwhile, Clemson has not missed in the second half.
Obi, you did it.
Till that one. 18 out of 19. 6 seconds to go. Likes off balance, fires it up there. Wild shot. It comes right back to Sims, and that's going to do it. The Tigers will advance. They knock off Miami 69 to 64. An anxiety-filled finish for both head coaches. It's the first time this season Miami has lost a game when leading at halftime.
But you love the fact that the 8-9 game, two evenly matched teams, shows up and is a great game. Very competitive game between these two teams who see seniors' seasons and careers end.
So Miami eliminated 69-64 as we give you a look at the bracket as we head into the second game of the day here in a couple of moments, and that'll be NC State and Pitt